everybody. So where we're stopping at now, if you want to look into this yard, you see a lot of debris and recycling. This is the Rhode Island Recycled Metals Facility, where people can bring scrap metals. They can also crush your cars. When you crush cars, that releases asbestos into the air. So this facility in itself has a long history of pollution and contamination within this port. But overarchingly, in January of 2015, the U.S. Coast Guard revealed that the company failed to comply with some very important permits and policies that they should be complying with, including stormwater drainage as well as oil spillage. Great, supporting us. So this is just one example of one of the facilities that are in the port. Then this also includes like the trucks that come in and out, never mind the machinery that does the recycling. Cool. We're gonna move on to the next thing.
Hey, how you doing? So we are now standing in front of the Motiva Enterprises LLC location. It is on both sides of us, on both sides of Allen's Ave here, and you can see the pipes kind of running underneath the roadway on either side. Motiva is a joint venture between Saudi Aramco and Shell Oil. It's headquartered in Houston, Texas. It is a major import terminal and distributor of petroleum products, including diesel, gasoline, ethanol, jet fuel, etc. Motiva receives regular shipments via tanker ship and exports via truck. You can see one of the tankers docking behind this truck right here. That is one of the ocean tankers that is currently docked, and then this is the. And you can see that this is a major trucking facility. This is just one of the many fuel terminals in the Port of Providence, but it's the largest one. Collectively, the fuel terminals in the Port of Providence provide the majority of fuels for all of southern New England, coming through this location right here. In 2014, the most recent year we have data available on the EPA's toxic release inventory, Motiva managed 34,425 pounds of various toxic waste products and emitted over 1,000 pounds into the air, making it the largest air emitter in the city of Providence.
I'm also going to talk a little bit about the ethanol trains that come through the city. I was able to point it out to some of you as we crossed the road. There were some black trains over there. They come through the city weekly. They make deliveries of ethanol. And the similar trains, or these trains themselves, were banned in Boston because of toxic concerns. And, you know, this ethanol is mixed on this facility and transported out by these trains, which is extremely dangerous because they could explode at any time. These bomb trains, which we hear a lot about in terms of oil in like New York and other places, but no one's talking about these ethanol trains that have been going through our city for a really long time. So ethanol in itself is highly volatile, flammable, colorless, and it's a clear liquid. And unlike other types of fuel, it is soluble into water, so that makes it even more dangerous. And more than 2 million gallons of ethanol comes in through this city weekly by rail, by barge, and by truck.
So because we started late, we're going to cut out. We are going to do a little route down Terminal Road where you can actually get to the entrance of some of these facilities and get a sense of kind of in the real, like, you know, this is obviously industrial, the whole area is, but you can feel it even more down there. In the interest of time, we're just going to stop here and then finish up at where we started. If you wanted to, on your own time, explore down that way, feel free to go ahead. Just don't cross too far because you will get a call from the FBI. I'm telling you from experience, so don't do that. In behind us here, if you go down Terminal Road, over in that back corner, it's not really visible from here, but the largest facility in that area is Univar. You've probably seen a number of the trucks driving by, Univar USA. It is a wholesale chemical distributor and a chlorine manufacturer. Not here, but in other places, Univar is also one of the companies that manufactures the chemicals used in fracking. So that, you know, I don't believe that they do that here or that those chemicals come through here, but they handle millions and millions of pounds of various chemicals with various levels of toxicity. There are 3.3 million pounds of toxic chemicals stored in the Univar facility here. It's the most dangerous facility in all of Rhode Island. It has a 14-mile hazard radius. The site, on the last available data, has 1.4 million pounds of chlorine gas, 1.2 million pounds of anhydrous ammonia, 626,400 pounds of ammonium, and 35,000 pounds of formaldehyde. Each one of those by itself would require a chemical risk management plan from the EPA. So it is a very high-risk facility. As you're noticing trucks driving by, if you see a little chemical placard card on the side of it, a little diamond, there's usually a number on it. It'll say corrosive or flammable or hazardous, but if you see a number, you can look up that number and get an MSDS, a material safety data sheet, to find out what exactly that chemical is and how quickly it'll kill you if that truck were to have an accident.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the existing LNG storage tank that's owned by National Grid itself. You should be able to see it right behind me. So this storage tank is filled by truck. Daily, essentially, trucks coming in and out of the port. It takes about 2,600 trucks to fill this tank, which is about 24.2 million gallons of LNG, or liquefied natural gas. Does everyone here know what liquefied natural gas is?
Poison?
No, right. Okay, so liquefied natural gas is actually fracked gas, right? So fracking is the process in which they drill a hole into the ground, pump chemicals down to release gas from the rock so that it rises up. So these chemicals stay into the ground and poison folks' drinking water, their land, so they're unable to grow anything on it. And so our gas comes from the Marcellus shale fields of Pennsylvania. And so then when that gas comes here, or the proposed plan is that this gas would be transported by the Algonquin Incremental Market Pipeline, quote unquote Algonquin. This pipeline is owned by Spectra Energy, which has already had multiple top safety inspectors come out saying that they do not inspect these pipelines and that these pipelines will explode, and one of them has. And so that is a big concern. And this pipeline actually goes underneath the Narragansett Bay. And then additionally, once it gets here by pipeline, it's going to go through this process called liquefaction. And so they're going to cool the gas down so that it becomes a liquid. And they want to do that so they can store as much as possible. Once they're able to do that, then they can transport it. And they're going to be transporting it out of the port by truck. And I think one of our biggest concerns has always been, one, the amount of traffic on this road in general, but also the fact that these trucks themselves emit toxic chemicals, as their emissions that come through. And I think Julie and I are going to talk a little bit both about the upcoming proposal site. National Grid is proposing a $180 million LNG liquefaction facility, which I just talked a little bit about what liquefaction is, here in the Port of Providence, right next to their storage tank and right next to the Univar chemical facility that Julian just talked about, which is very concerning. And it's going to cost $100 million for them to build this project and another $80 million for them to build a safety wall, which is also very concerning that you think that you need to build some sort of safety wall. I've also heard that this will be like a firewall and a sound wall and all of these other things. So it's a multi-purpose wall that they're trying to build here, which is also very concerning. And then another thing is we're not entirely 100% certain how they're going to get all of this money for $180 million to build this facility. But it's going to probably be put on our utility bills as an additional rate.
One additional piece about the proposed site. So what we're standing on right now, this will become the entranceway to the LNG liquefaction facility. It's where all the construction traffic will come in and out. They have to do a number of pieces of work in order to build the liquefaction facility, including building an electrical center that will be able to handle the energy needed to do the liquefaction. So it'll be at least 13 megawatts worth of electricity to run this liquefier. That's about half of the electricity that will be produced by deepwater wind. So for all the effort and all the push and all the work getting the deepwater wind facility in, this will be using up half of it just to produce LNG that we don't need. They won't be changing at all how much LNG is available, just making improvements on the bottom line for National Grid that they'll pass along the cost to us. Another thing to know about this site that we're standing on right now is that it's the former site of a manufactured gas plant. So back in the day, they would make gas out of coal. It was a very toxic process. There is known soil contamination from that plant in the soil right here. DEM also has records of many dozens of other leaking underground tanks that are known contaminants. So the soil that we're walking on is known to be toxic. The site behind us had part of the area be kind of renovated and capped over to keep those toxins in. They're still there, but they're capped. The rest of the site has not been capped. When they do the construction for liquefaction, they will be digging up that soil and removing part of the cap, and there'll be big piles of soil sitting here for the 2 years that they are constructing it. So if there were to be high wind, if there were to be a storm, if there were to be flooding, those toxins are going to be unearthed out of the ground and could potentially be blowing around, washing around, and so that's another toxic threat just from the construction of the facility itself. So these are just a few of the reasons why we all and a coalition of community groups are opposed to this. And I'll pass it back to Sherry to talk about next steps and ways that you can get involved.
So next steps and best ways to get involved. So we are, like we said, a small crew of community members and volunteers from organizations who meet every other Wednesday to talk about what we can do, and we alternate with just a visible protest or handing out of signs here in the port, mainly because we just want to bring visibility to the port, because people aren't really aware of what is here. So if you're interested in coming to any of these meetings, please definitely, sign our petition, or just, if you're not comfortable with that yet, just come up to me and give me your contact information, and I can email you when the next meeting is going to happen. Another thing you can all do is, if you haven't yet, file late as an intervener in the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission process. That's a very complicated process, and if you need help with that, you can definitely, again, contact me, and I'd be happy to sit down with you and walk you through that process. And additionally, I would encourage you to also contact your city council representatives and let them know that you are concerned about this. They did pass a resolution saying that they would be hosting community forums. We haven't had any community forums yet, so let them know we want these community forums to happen as soon as possible, because we would like the public to participate in this decision. Additionally, contacting your state representatives and letting them know that you are interested in this and you would like them to also speak out about this project.